everyone. Welcome to the Founders Foyer with me, Aishwarya. This foyer is full of hallway conversations, a space where creators, founders, and builders like us can look for all the inspiration to grow their ideas into products. So, if building a startup is like a whole journey, finding the right people to grow and build your whole team is another mountain to climb. And how do we often find the best set of folks to work with? Somebody who's equally passionate as we are in the vision that we want to go towards. This should never be very hard, but often it is actually the scenario that it's very hard. That's exactly what we navigate today. What benchmarks to follow? How do we find the right people? When do you get to build your team? All those questions are going to get answered because joining me today is a very special person who's rocking the startup space. Say hello to Padmini Janaki, the co-founder and CEO of Mind and Mom, a pregnancy welfare app. Padmini has formerly led product teams at PayPal, and she just recently represented Tamil Nadu at the World Economic Forum in Davos with her Mind and Mom team. Hi, Padmini.
Hello, Aishwarya. Great to be with you again. And I think you're doing an amazing job with this LinkedIn content creators. I've been following your work. Thank you so much for doing this and inspiring so many other women.
Thank you so much, Padmini. And I think it's a great reunion after the broadcast. So I feel like
absolutely yes, it is.
I know, it was super special. You know, before we go on to actual topics, I would definitely love to hear about representing Tamil Nadu at the World Economic Forum, that too with your startup Mind and Mom. How was the experience? What were some learnings that you had?
I think it is still surreal because they decided to select 4 startups from Tamil Nadu to represent Tamil Nadu's ecosystem of startups at the World Economic Forum. They had a launch, and I've been ordering this whole work as an outsider. And then the moment they said, there are going to be 4 startups, I was so curious, which startups will that be? It should be them and all that. And then the moment they selected the first 2 startups, they were all huge, in respect to revenue, in respect to the number of years they've been in. And some startups that I've been following avidly, the founders as well. And then I got a call from Tamil Nadu government and they said, you were also selected. I'm like, I've never nominated myself. And are you sure? Because, I've been talking about it to folks and they said, no, you were selected. I think you should come. And forget about the sponsorship that Tamil Nadu government gives and all that to go to Switzerland, but it's also the kind of representation. We need more women to represent the entrepreneurship ecosystem. Then when I was selected, I still feel it's so surreal, and it was quite good. It was really, really good. Because it was just like you walk on the street and you meet you meet your favorite authors like Adam Grant and whatnot, and you meet Sadhguru, you meet Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, and everybody was like they came back to their basics. They were ready to stand and talk to people, share the visiting cards and talk about what you're building and listen to your startup ideas. That was quite interesting for me, for a girl from Chennai who built, worked, studied only in Chennai. That was quite a good opportunity for me, I think. In this forum, I would like to thank Honorable Tamil Nadu government and all the folks who felt Mind and Mom would make so much sense to represent Tamil Nadu there.
Absolutely. I think, like you said, it's a dream for most of us who start with to come as a surprise to you and say, hey, we saw your work and it's amazing. I think that's the greatest honor that one can credit, ourselves with. And just a curious question as a continuation from this. How's the tech scene like at the World Economic Forum? I mean, you represented Mind and Mom. What were the other, other representation like, and what kind of exhibits happened there, and what kind of companies came there? Like, just can you share something with us today?
Sure. I think tech scene is great at World Economic Forum because everywhere you go, it's about the Web 3.0. It's about crypto. It is about new age technology in healthcare, IoT in healthcare. I think anything that you see on news is definitely there. Those founders are there. I happen to meet some really good unicorn founders from India as well, including Ritesh Agarwal. And I think there were some 7, 8 unicorns out there. We're talking about how the scenes are in India in general. I think it's pretty good, irrespective of the kind of inflation that we're going through with firing and all that. I personally think, it's very temporary. In It's more of a course correction time, but I really see the scene is pretty good for anybody to start off with. These things keep happening, like in 2008, probably when you and me were in school. This definitely happened in a different structure, and that really course corrected a lot of things. I see this as the same when COVID happened. Now this is happening. I personally see the technology scene is getting stronger. And if somebody wants to start up or somebody wants to kickstart something, I think they can't find the best time. Then I started during COVID, and everybody said, "Why are you doing this? You're quitting your job and then starting something in the peak COVID, and nobody's going to fund you." Definitely, there were innovation. There were a lot of resistance when it came to funding our startup. I wouldn't say there were quite a lot of VCs just wanted to invest, but we wanted to stay bootstrap. If somebody is saying 90%, that's not true. Everybody wants, at least most of them, they want VC money, they want angel money to, blow it big. You can always bootstrap, that's going to take time. So people need that money till you find your product proposition, till you find your product market fit. If you do not come from an elite, university, or from a company that where you already proved to a space where a lot of people knows you already have the popularity, fame, or money, it's very hard to really start from the scratch. I personally think the struggle is worth it. You will know how really it's done from the scratch. I really think I'm still learning. I wouldn't say that I've learned and mastered that art completely. But of course, I've raised funds and I've understood how the scene works. It's a journey, it's a learning. A lot of startups fail, but to me, nobody really fails. Either you make it big or you learn to do better in your second startup. So that's how I see.
Yeah, I absolutely. Totally agree with you. And it's so promising to hear that it started over pandemic and now is a better time for anybody who wishes to start. Because I've been seeing a lot of folks who share on LinkedIn or Twitter, any social platform. And even on your stories, when people ask you when there's an AMA, there's always questions around, hey, Padmini, I have this, how do I start up? Especially a lot of women who have questions around, what's the best way to start? And with respect to that, I wanted to ask you, you said you started Mind and Mom during the pandemic time. And of course, you must have had a very close set of advisors or, trusted circle to basically bounce off the idea with them and then set out to create. So how is it that you found your initial set of advisors or believers, and who are they? How was the process?
So to be honest, on day one, I didn't have such a circle because see, I've got really good friends, but they're product manager from other companies, right? They're probably working at PayPal, Zoho, Freshworks. Not necessarily they know how a startup scene works, right? Or how a product might or might not work. Is that really adding value? Is there an appetite to pay, willingness to pay for this particular product? There are quite a lot of questions, but in the journey, people will have to trust you. But that will happen only when you're adding value and being consistent, right? So when you go tell them, hey, I'm going to just come up with an app, everybody's coming up with an app today. I think to create an app with no code, low code, everybody can create an app overnight. It's not a big deal. How is that app or how is that platform adding value? And how do you find that value on an everyday basis, being consistently saying, Aishwarya, this is adding value, you should try. On day 10, when I'm telling you, you might probably think, hey, I think somebody telling me regularly, let me just go have a look. So that is how the initial circle of people came, because, my co-founder was head of technology in Emirates. I know he was doing that. It takes a lot to really convince somebody like that to come and join my vision, join my as a woman, as somebody who's gone through a very difficult reproductive phases in my life, probably I believe in this so much, but it's not necessary with others. For men, for people who crossed that stage like a lot of years back, right? So I think these two things, being adding immense value in people's life, on their career, on customers' life, on their everyday's life, and being consistent about it is key to really attract right talents and right minds into your startup.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, just 2 points to remember is value and being consistent with that. And
Yes.
I kind of totally, understand where this is coming from, because often we have friends to probably like bounce off ideas with, but when it comes to supporting you on a journey, which is quite, very, very uncertain, because you also don't know how it's going to go through, and you have your
Yeah.
own set of questions. So in that case, yeah, to make somebody believe in it as much as you do is definitely a hard, path to cross by. So yeah, kudos that you were actually able to do it. And one of my next questions is that, where you spoke about how important it is to find somebody to co-build with you, like your first co-founder who can share the space with you. Uh, on a very similar note, do you think there is a certain right time to bring in a co-founder into your vision, like when you're building out the product? Or, how do you go about finding a co-founder if that's the case, if it's very important for you to do?
Right. I think it's a great question. The answer I found in a hard way. So initially, when I started, I just picked somebody who used to work with me, and I said, "Hey, you are the co-founder. Just start of it." I never thought about, is this person going to be excited about this even after 6 months or 1 year? See, employees, it's a different scene, right? They can always come, they can feel that, they can think, believe in the vision, and over 5 6 months they can feel otherwise, which is all fine. You can recoup the whole thing, but then when it's a co-founder, it's very hard, legally, mentally. It's quite a lot of work. So initially that didn't really work with me, where I took a friend, and after a point she felt it's not going anywhere. We couldn't continue. We're still good friends, but still, as a co-founder, it didn't really work. So what I told myself is, the next time when I'm taking my co-founder, I have to be like 100% convinced, and that person should be like 100% convinced. Like, this is something I want to build and impact people's life for the next 5 10 years, whatever, right? Till it goes IPO, or till it somebody who can spread the value better, acquiring it, whatever, or even if it could be a failure, somebody who can stand with you and believe in something like that. So I was like completely a single founder for so long. And then I met Satish, where he was Dubai based. I wasn't even hiring people on remote. I was hiring people in Chennai. So when the office opens, they can come to office. So I'm not somebody who believes that people from anywhere can actually build such a early stage startup. Probably if it is a little bigger, people know what they're doing, probably it might work. But for a company which is already having people less than 10, I think it's so important they're all together and build it together. So everything was there. And when I met him, in fact, the conversation wasn't even, to take him as a co-founder or anything, but then I was super impressed with the clarity he had. Absolutely no sugarcoating, nothing. He just, said exactly what he felt. Then I immediately asked him, would you be interested in joining my team? I don't know in what capacity, but then he seems to be very technical. We are looking for somebody who's technical, who can understand technology. Because, we started this company as, we want to support women, but technically it's a deep tech company, right? There are going to be wearables. There are going to be a lot of AI and AML involved here. So a typical person can't do it. We need somebody with the kind of experience that you're having. Then he told me, let's just date for some time. I said, I don't know how it works. He said, we will do this co-founder thing like a dating for 4 5 months. Let's see if you like me and I like you. I don't know if this is going to work out. Then we will decide and then move forward. They're like, oh yeah, it's nice. Instead of just immediately adding him into the papers, adding everything and doing all a lot of legal work and then deciding, okay, it's not working. It made so much sense. So coming back to your question, I think if you are looking for a co-founder, I think co-founder really, really adds a value, because over time, startup gives you a lot of stress. Startup gives you a lot of challenges that, if you have a co-founder or a partner who can, sort of take you, and when both of you balance it, it's much more easier, right?
Yeah.
So always find your co-founder, share your vision, and ask them, hey, if you can be working like a co-founder, but you will not be in the paper for 4 months, it needs a lot of trust, because,
Yes.
someone needs to accept to work with you 100% without any salary, without any commitment. There's no commitment that after 6 months, you will even give him any equity or give them any salary, right? So this will happen only if that person is 100% committed to the idea and 100% trusting their own, skills. So luckily that happened with me. And then in February, I announced him as the co-founder. And, so I think this is a very good method where you need to find that right person. Otherwise, being a single founder is completely okay.
Mm. No, I think that's a very great point. And like validating ideas, I guess this process was validating a co-founder and how they
Correct.
share their vision with what you already shared. And
Yeah.
the way I see it is that, you both, on that fact, anybody who tries to bring in a co-founder, both of them should share a very complementary skill set. Like while you are
Correct.
probably focused on a few things, it'll be great for somebody to match you onto the same vision, but who brings in a very complementary set of skills and talents to be able to grow with you together. So that's a great.
Exactly. I think it needs a lot of, patience and mutual trust between them as well. It's not just the complementary skill, because obviously there are going to be some skills, let's say I have an ego. Hey, I've been a product manager in a company for 10 years, I've accomplished. Then the other person is also very, like, I have 15 years of experience of working in a company as a technology. So this kind of an ego shouldn't be there with both. So it's a very personality trait to really work as that, mutual people, accepting the flaws, accepting the complementary skills, and keeping the ego at home. And then actually, because both should believe in one thing, or the founding team should believe in one thing. This is nobody as big as the product itself, right?
Yes.
Like the
Yes.
product is the most biggest thing. If something is going to affect the product positively or negatively, nobody else is big, right? So this thought process should stay not just with the founders, not just with the founding team. I think with everyone, irrespective of their roles or responsibilities. So I think keeping that in mind really, really helps me to have a conversation with my co-founder, because he is, if you see him in person, you will know he's not that sugar-coated person. He wouldn't tell you anything in a way that you will not feel hurt or feel completely okay and accepted. He'll just be on face, very accepted, because he says that, I don't want to spend that time of, articulating with you, because, we have so much to do. If it's bad, I'll say it's bad. I can't be saying it's not so good. None of us are going to take away anything out of it. I think it works. I think this understanding is super important, especially when you are in an early startup. You have to accept your idea isn't the best, or you have to accept that people have come up with this idea at least 1,000 times before. So how are you going to be a differentiator? How are you going to accept any new ideas is so important.
Yeah. No, I think you brought the emotional quotient of building a team, because often it's just not about, oh yeah, I just found this person, I found a team, let's just go get started. But there's a lot of emotional investment from either side. So like you said,
I think on the emotion side, you have to keep a lot of emotions aside and work. I think you have to become super rational, super objective. It's never a subjective talk. I feel it's good. That's not going to work out, right? So I think the best way is to keep the emotion side aside. Bring in a lot of empathy instead for the users and the people around you. There's quite a lot of difference between empathy and emotion, usually misunderstood.
So bring in a lot of empathy, but not so much emotions. Have very fewer emotions. Work towards. I think as a person, keep the mind and mom aside. Um, as a person, I have changed a lot. I have learned a lot. My growth mindset definitely raises sharp, and it's still in the progress. So I'm personally pretty happy about the kind of progress that I have made in my life.
That's wonderful to know. Thank you so much for sharing, Padmini. And like, yeah, I totally agree with you there because you already have enough challenges to solve, and you don't want to put people, egos, and emotions on the plate to increase the complexity of early stage building. So yeah, agree with all of the things that you said there. And from this, I have a few more questions to go about, especially because we touched upon a lot of important points. So let's probably take them one by one. The very next thing that I want to probably ask you is, how do you go about building that first set of members on the founding team? Because, like, we spoke about the co-founder and we spoke about the rapport that one needs to have with the co-founder. And post this comes basically building the idea out in actual sense, for which you need a lot of trusted people to join you. So, how do you get them as excited? Yeah, sharing vision is one thing, but how do you basically build that initial team? And what did you learn from your experience of building a team, especially during pandemic?
Sure. So let's just answer this question very practically, right? What makes anybody get excited about joining a company? Of course, it's the money, it's the perks, or representing yourself as with Microsoft or Tesla's of the world. So many things when it comes to the usual workforce selection. Right? I've been that person, so there's nothing against that. But when it comes to a startup, which the name is also not even heard, right? There's a new company just registered. She's, in fact, a first time entrepreneur. And for somebody to trust on this and then come, it takes a lot. And then quit a regular job and then believe this is going to work out, probably have a pay cut, and then join, it takes a lot. So bringing such people also takes a lot. And then if you are able to bring 4 or 5 people who believes in the vision and adds and spreads that value, uh, I think everything else just follows because these 4 people are going to hire the next 10 people and the cycle just flows. And one thing, there are some values, even when it is a very small startup, there are some values that we strongly enforce in people about mutual respect and how people treat the other people when it comes to empathy at work. There are certain things that we enforce really, really strong. There's no, senior junior concept, but then there's quite a lot of respect for each other and the work that they do for the company. So with that, I think it was definitely difficult to hire that 4 folks. And those 4 folks, you interview 40 people and then you pick one. It is like you hire so many people and then you know this person probably isn't even suiting the culture. So probably not sharing the same vision as you are. And then they choose to leave and then there is a void and then you hire somebody. So initially definitely, it was difficult, but I think we were lucky. Our employee number one, she still works with us. She used to be my college friend, and she brought in more people who believed. And these are women who took a career break. There's a girl who's tried UPSC for 4 5 years, super smart, but probably couldn't crack the UPSC. Still adds a lot of value. She's amazing. There's a dentist, and she wanted to pursue something on that, but she came. And so from very, very different cultures and different workforces, people came. But one thing that's very unique for everyone and that matched with mine and more is the value system. On how am I going to add value? This is the question that everyone keeps asking, irrespective of if she was a homemaker or if she was a doctor or if she was a new aspirant or anybody for that matter. So I think that's sort of worked and it's quite a journey. I think I answered this question earlier as well. I can tell you about my route, but if you are going to start up tomorrow, your route is going to be completely different. On day one, you could probably find the perfect 10 people also. Might happen. The entire map, nobody knows, and we will have to find our own routes.
Yeah, yeah, that's true though. And since you touched upon culture and values, I think it's as important as building out the features on your app or product. Because as much as you spend time in doing that work, you also need to build something as like there is value, but there's also the culture of the team, the kind of people that you want to be bringing forth. So for Mind and Mom, did you have to have like a thought around what is a culture that you want to go about? Or do you think that's in general anybody who's just setting out to build a team, do you think they should spend some time into understanding the culture of the team that they want to be doing?
So I think culture is very important, but practically when you're starting a very small startup, when you're even, probably using your own money to build that small MVP prototype and everything, I think it's the founder's instinct that goes with, okay, this person put to work, right? Culture comes first, but I think you don't have to have a framework taken from the Google and then make this person tick, tick, tick. It's not actually the culture at all. It is about how this person feels about it and how they respect the start. So when you are from a corporate or when you are from an enterprise company where you are given free couches and free sweets and free food and all that luxury that comes along with an enterprise job, it is very easy to make others feel, or even you think the startup is very small, right? But that respect is very important. We are building it. We can always go. We could have stayed in someone's house, which is huge, but this is my house and this is what I have built. Now I'm going to build it more. That sense is very important. So to me, how much they respect the startup culture, how much they respect this startup is very, very, very important. With that itself, a lot of questions about value and culture comes in. And once the team is like 20 plus and 30 plus, then there is always a template, there's always a thing to follow, and it's going to get commercialized, it's going to get you know altered depending upon things. But at this point in time, when we are less than 15 people, we are very, very careful about how much people trust in the journey, trust in the process, and being a big part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like you said, there's no one size fits all. There's never like a single goal list that you want to be handing out and saying, oh, yeah, Mind and Mom did this, so I did this, so probably it might work out for you. So and I think we're somewhere circling back a lot to trust as well. And I can kind of see why it's important because we talk about trust from, like large teams, like you said, in enterprise and in bigger companies, trust is often only from the terms of the immediate team that you're working with and also like with respect to each other's work. But I think from building out an idea from scratch and basically like running a company all by yourself or with a very small team, the trust is not just with respect to work, but like you said, circles back to every little activity that you do as a part of the startup. So I can kind of see why you keep mentioning trust as one of the major cultural fits and also like value in terms of how you want to run a company.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So over to another main thing that often a lot of them who start up or a lot of them who try to initiate a certain project have in mind is, should I bring in the legal thoughts right at the beginning of what I'm doing? Or should I like put legal as the last thought after I'm very clear about the route that I want to be going? So do you have some thoughts from your own experience of incorporating a brand, a company, and then trying to like basically legalize all this in the process?
Yeah. So I think the answer is yes and no, because once you're pretty clear that, yeah, it's going to be a startup, registering is important. I think it's very easy also in India. It's not like, so many other countries where it takes months. It's just a week's process. If you have all the documents like PAN card, Aadhaar and all that, it's going to just hardly take a week, and you go with Vakil search. That's what we did. And it's going to be done in a week. But the other legalities, like when co-founders comes into picture, how much they're going to own, how much I'm going to own, it requires actually a lot of discussion, transparent discussion between people, and then go with it, because you don't want to be over time, spending a lot of time and working on the legal, and it's not worth it. So I think with people never had any terms like, okay, let's just figure out when it goes big. Always trust it's going to become big. and have very transparent conversations. Hey, this is what it is going to be. I'll send out a mail. You can keep the mail. I'm going to give this equity. Right now, I can't do it legally because it's going to cost a lot of money. But I can send you a mail where, you can do this. So I think having very transparent discussions initially and then registering the company also helps a lot of things in the later stage. I think for us also, we registered in some name and then we had to transfer. It's called something and somebody's name is added into it because it was a mere thought of, okay, let's just figure out when it goes big, right? So you should really trust that it's going to go big and then take a legal things seriously, but with a pinch of salt, like do not overdo it as well. Like I need a lawyer, I need a corporate lawyer, I need somebody like that. They all charge a bomb as much as I know. So that's all not required at the early stages, what I think.
So basically looking at a short-term vision and also thinking about a long-term vision when it comes to the legalization as well. And like you said, you wouldn't want to spend a lot of the money that you have, especially when you're bootstrapped, not a lot into already putting it into the legal side of things. So yeah,
Correct.
that is correct. Makes sense. Cool. So over to one of the main parts in terms of hiring your first set of people. We spoke enough about the cultural fit, the values, the trust, and all those parts. There's another part which you mentioned, which was pretty interesting to know that your co-founder is somebody who probably comes from Dubai. So there's also the whole remote work situation right now, and of course, remote work is now transformed into a very hybrid structure where people are in office, people also tend to work from anywhere across the world. So how do you think, these founders who tend to hire the first set of people, what kind of thoughts you have in terms of hiring from across other cities where you're basically not headquartered, and also like basically have your team spread across in multiple places, even though, you all have different time zones, different work natures. What's your thought on that?
So I think we are definitely on the hybrid, but given a choice and chance, I would prefer having them all in office. But looking at people's comfort as well, because we all sat at home during the COVID, and we got really comfortable with this. And for a very early stage company, I personally think it wouldn't really suit. Like I think 3 weeks back or something. Mr. Narayana Murthy said it's not going to work for India, and everybody was like, oh my God, he's so old and he comes from whatever generation and all that. And I think last week Elon Musk said the same, and everybody's like, oh yeah, Elon Musk is right. I think people needs to understand what's going to work for their startup. There's no one rule fit for all, right? So if your company is very comfortable doing that hybrid or doing it remote, good for them. But I personally feel having them in places brings in a lot of productivity. But unfortunately, it's not always possible. Like my co-founder is in Dubai, and I meet him like once in 3 months or something like that. But he is definitely there. Like we never felt he's like away. But I've hired people where I used to feel like, okay, is this person even working today or not? Right? I had an experience of one guy. I'm sure it's going to be super funny when I didn't know how to hire folks. Like when we started, this guy was working in a different company and he was also working for mine and I don't know how this works, right? So he was actually getting 2 salaries. And, in the afternoons, if you call him, he'll say, no, I have some personal issues, I can't pick. And then you would like, probably having a lot of empathy and emotional side of it, like, oh yeah, sure, please take care of it. And then after 2 months of, complete no productivity, I figured out this guy was like, actually 2 timing at work. Wow. So it was a very interesting encounter. And I'm not saying everybody is doing that, but till you figure out, till you get the knack of it, or till you have an HR who's having an eye on things, when you are like doing everything, I think meeting people really, really helps. But it's not a rule that applies to all. With Satish, I have no problem. With my co-founder Satish, I have no problem. I've never ever felt if he's working. In fact, It's in fact, I have to tell him, like, work less. So it totally depends on people. For some people, it really works who know how remote works really works.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like, so somebody who understands the demands of the role and basically what is it that they have to do from their end to get things right, to get the work right, can basically be there. But I kind of understand why you mean in terms of like meeting, especially for early stage products. I currently work on an early stage product, so I also get the whole sense about okay, being there in person at times is really in terms of understanding each other's thought process is good. But also having your own personal space in terms of the hybrid methodology also seems to work because you get best of both worlds. So yeah,
Exactly.
I guess,
If you know how it works, if you know how to work on remote, I think it's fine. Until unless the work is getting done, nobody's going to force you to come to office. But then that culture, that lifestyle, are we like really equipped with such people? Is a question.
That's true. That's true. Like think about is your team really empowered to take that as a choice, and are you doing what needs to be done for your team to feel that way? So yeah, makes sense. So I think one of the other questions that probably gets asked you a lot of times, but it's going to be a little subjective in terms of is there something that you personally felt as a reflection or a learning? Hey, I didn't really think about this when I started up, but here am I, like looking at this lesson, and I feel like I have to tell this to somebody who would really start up right now. So, is there something like that you felt from your journey which you didn't quite encounter or decide to encounter, but you actually did?
Yes. So I think one thing that I will tell anybody now that I probably didn't do it properly is taking care of your mental health. So when you start up, you're usually into it, like it's your baby. You want to take care of it 24/7. Keep thinking about it. Keep improvising on the features, product, whatnot, right? But you lose yourself over time, and you would start feeling you're becoming completely a different person when it comes to food habits. You just meet people, it could be clients, investors. You have random coffees, you have random junk food and all that. And at one point in time, you never prioritized your mental health, and that's going to hit you hard. Probably not today, but in a week, month, or year's time. So I strongly think entrepreneurs, as irrespective of men, women, I think they should focus a lot on their mental health right from the beginning.
Yeah, no, absolutely with you on that. I think as a person who's always championed mental health and always supported the fact that one has to take a break and one has to understand what's going on with oneself, I think it's not just for founders or not just for anybody who's building out an idea. Just as a person, I think
Yes.
being aware of our mental health and being aware of our emotions and the whole burnout and the worked up feeling that we get is really important. So thanks a lot. I think this episode really needed a mention about mental health, and I'm so glad that we are finishing it on that note. So thank you so much, Padmini. I think the conversation has been like how we usually meet in person and chat about a lot of things about products. So yeah, I think it was just the way that we always do in terms of keeping it very candid and keeping it very practical in terms of what works for you, what didn't. And I'm glad that people who have a lot of questions in terms of building their team out, I keep meeting a lot of folks on LinkedIn and also on Twitter who always have these questions like, how do I go about this? How do I start building a team? I think this episode would really help them understand it from a person next door perspective. It's never like, it's not just about giving grand advices, but I think it's a lot around practical ways of how you did it and how you would like others to look upon it. So thanks a lot, Padmini.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya. I think I actually added value because I'm not somebody who would sugarcoat and tell things. You guys come, it's going to be an easy path. No, definitely I had my hard lessons, but I'm sure everyone should try. And you can't avoid life, right? You can't avoid life. There's going to be a challenge. There's going to be a problem. You are here to live it. So I think startup works the same way, and people will. I think women, men, all of them will have to try their startup at least once in their life. It works, doesn't work, that's a different story. But I think that experience gives them a lot of learning as a person. Thank you so much, Aishwarya, for your time.
Thank you.